All right, let's talk about XRP. It's one of the most debated, most talked about assets in the entire crypto space. And today we are tackling the really big question. What is its actual long-term price potential? We're going to break down what analysts are predicting, dive into the key things that could drive its growth, and yeah, we're going to face the risks head on.
It really gets the community buzzing. The one that fuels all the speculation. Could this one asset, with its pretty wild history, actually hit a price of $50? I mean, that is a massive number. So let's try to unpack how something like that could even happen.
So, look, our goal here is simple. We're going to try and cut through all the noise. We'll look at some of the more realistic scenarios, the potential catalysts for growth, and of course, the very real risks that are involved.
So let's start. Okay, so to really get to the bottom of this, we have to start with some background. I mean, this isn't just some random prediction pulled out of thin air. It's a billion-dollar question that's really rooted in years of market cycles, some pretty intense legal battles, and a really powerful community vision.
And you know, to get a handle on where we might be going, you've got to know where we've been. If we rewind to the big bull run of 2018, XRP hit its peak at around $3.84. And that's the number that so many investors are hoping to not just see again, but to blow right past in the next cycle.
Before we all get completely lost in price charts and predictions, we have to ask a more fundamental question. Why does XRP even exist? Because, you know, price is one thing, but it's the purpose, the actual utility that drives long-term value. So what problem is this thing actually built to solve?
Well, at its core, XRP is the native digital asset from Ripple Labs. And its mission is incredibly specific. It's designed to be a kind of bridge for financial institutions, helping them move money all across the world way more efficiently. And by that, I mean faster and at a much lower cost.
And this right here, this is the whole point. A traditional international payment using something like SWIFT can take days to finally settle. But an XRP transaction, we're talking just a few seconds. That kind of speed, well, it's a potential game changer for how global finance
So now that we
works.
have that foundation in place, let's get to the core of this whole thing. We're going to look at three pretty distinct scenarios for where XRP's price could go between 2026 and 2030, all based on market analysis and different adoption trends. Okay, let's start with scenario one, the conservative case. Now, if adoption grows at a nice, steady pace, but without any huge game-changing breakthroughs, analysts are predicting a price range of somewhere between $3 and $8. Now, that would successfully put it back over its old all-time high. But what happens if things start to heat up a bit more? That brings us to scenario two. In a world with really significant buy-in from institutions like banks and major payment networks, well, the potential price target jumps up to that $10 to $20 range. And then you've got the big one, the most bullish scenario of them all, the one that really captures everyone's imagination. If XRP manages to achieve its ultimate goal, becoming a core piece of the international finance system, then we're looking at predictions of $25 and maybe even over $50. Okay, let's hit the brakes for a second. I have to be super clear about this. None of this is a guarantee, not even close. Crypto markets are, as you know, incredibly volatile. These are just predictions based on certain conditions. They are not certainties. It is so crucial to remember.
The big question is, what could actually push XRP towards those higher-end scenarios? Let's dig into the case for some major growth by breaking down the four key catalysts that analysts are really keeping a close eye on.
So what could kick things into high gear? Well, first up, more bank partnerships. I mean, if major global banks actually start using XRP for what's called on-demand liquidity, that's a massive vote of confidence. Second, regulatory clarity. If governments finally come out with clear rules, it would remove this huge cloud of uncertainty that's been hanging over the project for years. Third is just a good old-fashioned crypto bull run. A rising tide, usually led by Bitcoin, tends to lift all the boats. And finally, just the continued expansion of Ripple's own payment network, because that directly drives real-world usage of the asset.
That's simple, right? It's not all smooth sailing. For every potential catalyst, there's a pretty significant risk. So let's take a look at the major hurdles that could stand in the way of all that growth.
First off, that same regulatory uncertainty could just continue. If governments keep dragging their feet on clear rules, it could seriously slow down adoption. Second, the competition is fierce. There are a lot of other crypto projects and even traditional finance innovators who are all racing to solve the exact same problem. And third, there's always the risk with pure hype. If the price gets way ahead of its actual real-world usage, it could lead to a really sharp and painful correction.
You've got the bear case.
So you've got the catalyst for growth, and you've got these huge risks. But according to all the analysis, when you strip everything else away, it all boils down to one single, ultimate deciding factor.
And that factor, that entire complex idea, can be summed up in just one single word.
Adoption. That's it. That is the entire game. In the long run, it's not really about hype or speculation or even what the market is doing day to day. It is all about real-world, tangible usage by the very institutions XRP was built to serve. And this quote from the analysis just sums it all up perfectly. At the end of the day, XRP's success story is going to be written by whether or not it truly becomes an indispensable backbone for the global payments industry. It's as simple and as complicated as that.
And so that leaves us right here with the big, final question that everyone has to think about. Will the traditional world of finance actually embrace this new technology and make it their own? Or will the ever-increasing number of competitors manage to solve the problem first and take the lead? The answer to that question will determine everything.